The horror of April 30th, 2025 remains fresh, raw and too haunting to be forgotten nearly a year later. That Wednesday, the Kasipul MP, Charles Ongondo Were, stepped into his day unaware that he would breathe his last. According to the prosecutors, betrayal had already crept into his inner circle, who are now accused of handing Ongondo over to his killers. Blow-by-blow reconstruction from more than 1,000 CCTV footage recovered from Parliament Building, Standard Building, Valley Road Motors, Ruby's Petrol Station in Haligam, and cameras mounted along Parliament Road, Harambe Avenue, Kenyatta Avenue, City Hall Way to Abera Street. The surveillance trail paints a chilling picture. What first appeared to be a routine city movement now resembles a carefully mapped pursuit that culminated in the killing of the MP. Footage investigators say captures crucial moments, including alleged interaction between the MP's bodyguard and the suspected killers minutes before the fatal shooting. And nearly a year later, the questions remain heavy. Who planned it? Who executed it? And in those final irreversible moments, who betrayed the Kasipul legislator in his final hour?
It's like I'm in a dream world because I spent the whole afternoon with him. We went together for tea, came back, sat again in Parliament, and I left him at around 7. To be called by my driver, through his driver, that your friend has been shot and he's dead.
It appears that this assassin or assailant was trailing the car from town.
On the morning of April 30th, 2025, at exactly 6:39 a.m. at the Parliament Building, on the fateful day the MP was assassinated, Ongondo can be seen casually dressed in a reddish jersey with a Kenyan label on the front, black and white strip pants and black shoes, arriving at the Bunge Towers aboard motor vehicle registration number KDD 244V. The MP alights and the driver followed him closely while carrying his belongings. Investigators say he was going to the gym, a personal ritual he used to do before business of the day. According to the CCTV, the MP's vehicle spent approximately 10 minutes at the Bunge Towers. The vehicle KDD 244V exited Bunge Towers at 6:48 a.m. At this point, his driver Walter Wino left alone and drove back to their home in Karen. The MP had instructed his driver to return the V8 to Karen and leave it there. He then gave further directions for the driver to pick up his son's car, KDM 783A, which is a Toyota Crown. It is in this vehicle that Ongondo will later be shot dead. Did he fear for his life that morning, prompting him to switch vehicles and use his son's car? The MP's driver returned to Parliament at 8:37 a.m., driving a white Toyota Crown into Bunge Towers and parking at Ukulima grounds, unaware that beyond the gates, unseen eyes were already tracking his every move. At 12:43 noon, the Toyota Crown belonging to Ongondo Were pulls out of Ukulima parking. At 15:43 hours, a man who has since been identified as Isaac Kuria alias Kush, believed by the prosecution to be the gunman who pulled the trigger killing the MP. Here, he is seen carrying a black sling bag. He alights from the co-driver's door and walks along Parliament Road towards Family Bank. To passerby, he is just another pedestrian in the city. But to detectives reconstructing the final hours of Charles Ongondo Were, this quiet walk would become one of the most chilling frames in a carefully unfolding plot. At 15 hours, the motor vehicle KZ 645Z is driven towards Family Bank, followed by the same motorcycle rider. Both motorcycle and the KZ park in front of the Cooperative Bank. At 15:21:07, KZ 645Z and the motorcycle leave the parking area and proceeds towards Family Bank. At 15:30 hours, the same vehicle, KDM 783A, a Toyota Crown for the MP, is seen parked at the Family Bank opposite to Bunge Towers. The moments that hold slowly and calculative disrupts the life of the second-term member of Kasipul constituency comes at 15:44 hours. The CCTV shows a motor vehicle KZ 645Z, which we have established belongs to an assistant commissioner of police. KTN has established that the motor vehicle KZ was sold to the police commissioner for 300,000 shillings. On the day Ongondo was to be eliminated, a suspect identified as William Imoli alias Imo allegedly borrowed the vehicle to facilitate the killing. The car can be seen being driven along Harambe Avenue towards Parliament Road in the direction of the Family Bank, followed by a motorcycle rider dressed in a blue reflective jacket, bluish trouser, yellowish shoes and helmet. Motor vehicle KZ 645Z is of significance. Investigators believe it was not just another car, but the vehicle that was transporting MP Ongondo Were's killers with others on the motorbike. At 15:46:47 hours, motor vehicle KZ 645Z leaves the parking area along Parliament Road and Harambe Avenue, makes a round trip through Parliament Lane and returns to Parliament Road. At 15:51:39 hours, motor vehicle KZ 645Z is driven slowly along Parliament Road and parked near the MP's vehicle for approximately 8 minutes. At 15:54:06 hours, the same motorcycle leaves the parking at Harambe Avenue and is ridden past the County Hall gate towards Family Bank. At 15:56:21 hours, CCTV captures a man dressed in a dark outfit, striped jacket and white shoes. His identity remains a mirage. He was never questioned by detectives in connection with the brutal murder of Charles Ongondo. He is seen crossing Harambe Avenue towards Equity Bank, along Parliament Road, where he meets a motorcycle rider, the same rider believed to have been trailing the MP alongside the KZ vehicle. At 15:57, the man in the blackish outfit walks towards Harambe Avenue while carrying a white item. At 15:57:27 hours, motor vehicle KZ 645Z is driven out and parked for approximately 5 minutes, now facing MP Ongondo's vehicle, a Toyota Crown KDM. At 16:03:17, a motor vehicle KZ 645Z is driven and parked for approximately 3 minutes near the Protection House. At 16:17:45 to 16:22:33 hours, a man dressed in a checked shirt, blue trouser and brown boots, carrying a black sling bag, alights from the motor vehicle KZ. He crosses Parliament Road towards where the Toyota Crown is parked, spends approximately 2 minutes near the vehicle, then walks back via Cooperative Bank, crosses the road and returns to the vehicle. This is the point where the investigators say Ongondo's bodyguard Alan Omondio Gola met with the man who is being accused of shooting the MP. At 16:18:19 hours, the motorcycle rider leaves the parking, rides around and returns to Harambe Avenue, parking within Equity Bank parking. At 17:27:02 hours, the same man alights again from the co-driver's door. walks towards Uhuru Highway past the Parliament main entrance. At 17:35:58 to 17:37:04 hours, the same man is captured walking back past the Parliament entrance towards the vehicle. At 17:37:10 hours, the man returns to the vehicle. At 18:17:18 hours, Ongondo's vehicle leaves Family Bank parking and is driven to Kulima parking. At 6:35:20, a woman is seen walking from Harambe Avenue towards parking lot where Ongondo's aides were waiting. At 6:37:48, the same woman, dressed in a white outfit in what appears to be a grey sweater, carrying a black bag, approaches the security entrance. She briefly speaks with uniformed police officers before being allowed in. She then walks into the parking area where Ongondo's Toyota Crown was parked and stands there for a while. At 6:38:25, a man in a black suit holding a brown envelope approaches her from the right-hand side. He pauses briefly and appears to speak to occupants of a vehicle that is double parked near the ambulances and adjacent to Ongondo's car. At 6:39 hours, a man wearing a brown trouser, a white shirt and a black coat emerges from Ongondo's vehicle, which had been parked there for the entire time. He briefly speaks with the man carrying the envelope under the nearby tree, while the woman remains standing aside. Shortly afterward, both men join the woman. At 6:50:27 hours, after several minutes of conversation, the man in brown trouser and the woman board Ongondo's car. The woman then pauses and then walks over to speak to someone in the car that has been double parked next to the ambulances. At 6:52:39 hours, she returns to Ongondo's car. They remain inside the vehicle for several minutes. Between 19:07:03 and 19:07:32 hours, CCTV captures a man in a black suit and a whitish shirt walking from the Cooperative Bank of Kenya. He pauses briefly near Parliament roundabout, then crosses towards County Hall. The man captured here is Alan Omondi Ogola, bodyguard to slain MP Charles Ongondo Were. In this frame, he appears to be scanning the area, allegedly searching for the MP's killers. This time, he missed him and crossed the road. At 19:06:03, the driver walks towards Parliament roundabout for a second time. At 19:08:29, the bodyguard crosses back from the County Hall side and positions himself under the same tree near Equity Bank. At 19:08:46, the driver of the vehicle KZ 645Z crosses the Parliament Road and meets the MP bodyguard. The bodyguard and the alleged assassin appears to converse. In this moment, the bodyguard is seen meeting individuals believed to be part of assassination plot, barely 20 minutes before the MP was delivered to his killers. At 19:11:41, the bodyguard and the alleged assassin part ways. The bodyguard then walks towards Ukulima via the protection house while appearing to make a phone call. He is visibly in a hurry. MP had signaled for pickup from Parliament, yet the vehicle, its driver and the female passenger were still at the Ukulima parking lot. At 19:15:34 hours, Ongondo vehicle registration number KDM 783A pulls out of the Ukulima parking lot. The bodyguard runs after it, swings open the co-driver's door and ushers a woman into the very seat the MP would occupy barely 2 minutes later. The vehicle then exits the protection house gate. At 19:15:56 to 19:10 hours, motor vehicle KZ645Z is driven and parked at Equity Bank. At 18:51 hours, a motorcycle rider emerges from the trees within Equity Bank parking, wearing a reflective jacket and carrying what appears to be a helmet, and approaches KZ645Z. Driver briefly alights and re-enters the vehicle. The motorcycle rider approaches the driver's window while appearing to converse. At 19:20 hours, a woman alights from the victim's vehicle outside the gate, after which the vehicle is driven into Parliament through the main entrance. The identity of the woman captured in this frame remains a mystery. She has never been questioned by detectives over her possible link to the brutal murder of Charles Ongondo, or perhaps she was well known to the MP's aides. At 19:23:02, a man with a sling bag alights from the co-driver's door of the motor vehicle KZ645Z and stands on the pavement as he fixes his gaze on the Parliament main entrance. At 19:23:10, motor vehicle KZ leaves the parking and is driven slowly towards Holy Family Basilica via Parliament Road. At 19:23:30, a motor vehicle KZ is driven slowly past the Senate Museum gate. The late MP is captured on the CCTV conversing with a group of people at the National Assembly lobby, and aware that the danger was drawing near. At 19:22:29, the MP's bodyguard Alan Omondio meets him, and Ongondo hands over his mobile phone together with what appears to be a set of documents. Moments later, the victim's vehicle approaches the VIP pickup points at the National Assembly. The bodyguard opens the co-driver's door, and MP Ongondo, who later be shot dead minutes later, boards the vehicle, pausing to wave at colleagues at Parliament, not knowing this will be his last time and wave in Parliament. The vehicle then departs with the bodyguard entering through the rear left door. The journey began to where his own bodyguard was delivering him to his killers. At 19:23:56, the victim's vehicle exits Parliament Gate. At 19:23:46, the motorcycle rider walks towards where the motorcycle was parked at Equity Bank. According to the CCTV, at 19:24:04, the rider removes the motorcycle from the parking and parks it at the same spot previously occupied by the KZ. At 19:24:22, the motor vehicle departs following the victim's vehicle a few minutes behind towards City Hall on Parliament roundabout. At 19:23:44, the victim's vehicle passes Museum Gate, followed by the same motorcycle. At approximately 19:26 hours, around the Senate Gate, motor vehicle KZ645Z makes a U-turn at Museum Gate and follows the victim's vehicle. At 19:26:55 to 19:27:15, Ongondo's vehicle proceeds towards City Hall, followed by the motorcycle and the KZ645Z. At the Standard Building in Wabera Street now at 19:39 hours, a white saloon vehicle is captured along Wabera Street, followed closely by a motorcycle carrying two assailants. The motorcycle stops a few meters ahead. A male wearing a maroon Marvin cap, whitish long-sleeved shirt, black sling bag, bluish trousers, and brown boots alights and walks past the M-Pesa shop. At the Wabera Street now, a man in a suit who has been identified as the MP bodyguard enters the M-Pesa shop and exits shortly thereafter. The killer, who was already armed, was marauding within the city, baying for the MP's life. Here, he retreats, making a phone call. 1921-24, the suspect returns after Ongondo's bodyguard leaves the shop and boards the vehicle. At 1921-42, the suspect hurriedly boards the motorcycle, which follows the vehicle beyond the camera's view. At 1931-02, a white Toyota Crown is captured along Valley Road, followed by a motorcycle carrying 1 pillion passenger, wearing a maroon Marvin cap, black and white checked shirt, and black sling bag. At this point, only one vehicle separates the killers from Ongondo's vehicle. This is the time the MP would be shot in cold blood while his vehicle was stopped at the traffic light near the city morgue roundabout along Ngong Road. The killers finished Ongondo where there was no CCTV cameras. All the CCTV were dead asleep. Every lens along the route remained silent, blind to the crime. Were the killers privy to this?
He left, I think, barely 30 minutes before he met his death.
At 1944, 25 motor vehicle which was trailing the MP enters the petrol station parking. The driver lights and is seen making phone calls immediately after the MP was shot dead. At 1959-23, the driver walks to the road, boards a motorcycle, which is ridden towards Valley Road direction. A white vehicle arrives from Valley Road direction and stops near Ruby's petrol station. At 21:29:59, the driver of the KZ645Z alights from the co-driver's door carrying a black item, enters his vehicle. The white car is driven towards Lenana Road. At 21:30:47, the vehicle KZ leaves Ruby's petrol station and is driven towards Valley Road roundabout.
In Parliament itself also, we saw the MP coming in the morning, dressed up, going to the gym. Several interactions also we saw of the driver of the MP and the bodyguard of the MP interacting with other persons of interest, including a lady who we are yet to know who the person is. The family wants to know the motive. The family wants to know what the MP had done to somebody that made the person think that the only way to solve the grievance that he had or they had was to kill.
So far, 5 suspects are facing murder charges before Justice Diana Kaveksa. 5 suspects include William Imoli Shigali alias Imo, Edwin Oduor Odhiambo alias Machuani, Abel Ochieng alias Dev Kalo, Isaac Kuria Chege alias Kush, who is the alleged hitman, and Alan Omondi Ogola, the MP's bodyguard charged in connection with the plot. The MP was assassinated in cold blood, with his own bodyguard believed to have handed him over to his killers. However, the Kibra law courts remain the arena of truth as his murder case continues.
Usinibo like usted ukiwa proxy kila pedi kwa na doka weni ngombe stena goats milioni wanza na bob zile pipe tumedot kila mchoro wanza na dot naongeza skari mingi waulize tuskate limit ili video nyeshe tiris yapatiwe degree simanishi chebi kisema lishi kamili ile pressure kubwa nkona
Selector deno